So I had a few people comment and ask me about if I would do a run through of my studio setup. Now, studio is a very loose term because I call it my studio, but it's really minimalist. There's not much to it at all. So I wasn't sure if people would be interested or, you know, want to see it. But then I thought about it. Yeah, I love gear. I love all that stuff. So I'd be interested in seeing it regardless. So I thought we'd check it out. We'll start off by just saying that this isn't a prominent feature. This is just a big mess at the minute. So apologies, just don't look, just avert your eyes and from the various boxes that are around. So we'll start off, I got a couple of cases, hard case, and this case that I recently got with the SX base, which is awesome, although it's a bit broken. It's a really nice hard / soft case. And then in my toolbox, which I take everywhere with me, I've got all my bits and bobs that I might need, including Lionel the dinosaur and various other bits. So any kind of guitar maintenance, any spare cables or stuff goes with me to every gig, including like backing track stuff, all lives in here. So ignoring all of this, don't worry about that. Let's move on to the stuff over here. So first off, let's talk about this, which is something I am borrowing from my good friend Joe Marsh, and let's have a look. Oh no, we're not going to have a look about what that is, what you'll see. And also these absolute bad boys from EMG, which I'm going to be fitting into my P-Bass very soon. Anyway, the studio as it is. So a lot of people ask, how do I record things? So it's my signal chain starts off obviously with a guitar or bass. Now, this is really annoying. I would normally have my guitar over there and all the bass over here, but I've been using these two, the Butterscotch Brigade at the minute. So I haven't rearranged it. So starting off with my pedal board, I go in through this Roland cable, which is a nice short length. Joe, who's lent me this doohickey here, recommended me in his videos. Go and check out his channel, it's great stuff. I'll link it in the description below if I remember. Said recommend getting some shorter cables, and so much easier. I used to have cables running everywhere, it was a pain, so I'd really recommend short cables for studio stuff at home. So immediately I'm going straight into the drop, then out of there into the Sans amp. From there I'm going, I can't remember now, oh yeah, out of there and into the BB Sonic Stomp, and then into the Line 6 HX Stomp. Now, I was hoping to get rid of the Sans amp because this has got a Sans amp clone on it, and I thought, oh, this will be my tone. I just can't get rid of the Sans amp. At the minute, I'm keeping hold of it. And then also, I think everyone should have this on their pedal board. Little box with some earplugs, some little Allen keys, screwdrivers for when you might need it. If your strap lock comes off or something, you can screw it back on. No problem. And also some picks, which is really great. I had some questions about picks. I use these kind of 0.70, 0.73 millimeter Tortex ones, the yellow ones. I think they're hard enough that it gives you this nice attack, but soft enough that you can play nice and fast. So yeah, they're my favorite picks. So moving on to the setup itself. So it goes from I don't use the DI, maybe I should, but I quite like the live sound that I get from just going straight from the out. So I go straight from the out in the Line 6 or straight from the Sans amp if I want to bypass this. Follow this down. Oh my goodness, up to the other side and straight into the Focusrite Scarlett 2i2. Now, this one I've had for a couple of years now. I bought it in a package with these KRK Rocket 5s. I've never had the desire to change them. I think that they're great. So yeah, I think they're really good for what I do. And I've only on one occasion have I ever needed two, more than two, sorry. Only on one occasion if I needed more than two inputs. So the Scarlett 2i2 for me is brilliant. And then I've also got plugged in some headphones if I'm doing anything late at night. And they are some really nice Sony WH-1000X M3s. Really catchy name. So from there I'm going straight into here. This is going out into Logic then, and then that's how I record everything, just through Logic. Now, what's something I'd really recommend, like for years I had my speakers low down, like down here, and you just don't get the best sound. When I raised my screen up, so my chair was at a better level, using this old Skechers shoebox, which I think actually looks really cool, adds a bit of colour to the room. And then I decided, I used to have all these pop figures up on my shelf up there. Now I use them to raise up the speakers, and I love it. I think it's a great way of using them, even though I don't get to see them all. I keep my favourite ones at the front, and yeah, it's really cool. Anyway, enough about that. I could go on all day about aesthetics. Also, something I would really recommend checking out is from IKEA. These, I can't remember what they call them. They're meant to go on the wall, and my intention was to put it on the wall up here somewhere, but I ended up putting it down below. We've got house rabbits that free roam, and they're not normally allowed in this room, but sometimes I let them in. And so I can't have them chewing up the cables behind. So this is a little cable management system that hides the cables below, allows me to keep things like pens, and I can store all my cables underneath the desk, and it just looks a lot neater, I think. I do want to get a new desk. This used to be part of a bunk bed when I was a child. It had a desk underneath, underneath the bed, and my dad just chopped it when I was too old for a bunk bed. Chopped it, and fun fact: these are jam jar lids that just fit on there. So yeah, I love the character of that, but I do need a bigger desk. It's great for this space, but maybe not in the future. Moving on. We might as well just talk about lighting and things like that. I use these Fovitec lights. I don't know. I only use one at the minute, just because there's not really much space for me to put up another one, and so I just leave this one up. These were, I think, £120 or something for a pair on Amazon, and they're great. I've had no issues with them, and they made a world of difference to the videos. From there, in here, if we just open this up, whoops! Oh yeah, oh, okay, yeah, that comes off. Where I keep all my camera gear. I use a Sony Alpha A6300 for majority of my shots. Yeah, great cameras. The Mac itself is a 2017 i5 processor, which is actually really good. I bought it new from the Apple Store, and yeah, I do really like it. I do kind of miss, I used to have a MacBook Pro, and I do kind of miss the portability of that sometimes, especially if I want to edit videos on the go. But in terms of processing power, this one is really good. And I actually don't use it. That's one thing on my wish list, is an external hard drive. I do have one, but it doesn't work anymore. So I need to get one to store my footage on, because at the minute I'm just going through and deleting stuff, which isn't ideal. So I hope you've enjoyed just having a little tour of my studio. If you want to see the guitars, I've got here it's a Fender Player Telecaster, and at the minute I've got a Harley Benton Les Paul as well, for some girth. So there you go. I hope you found something interesting and helpful by looking around my quote studio. Oh, I forgot something. I forgot something. Totally forgot to talk about my microphone setup. So, using one of the XLR cables, I've got this clamp microphone stand, which is, if you want a studio for yourself and you're just using it for yourself, I would really recommend one of these, because you don't have to, there's no floor space taken up by a stand, and you've actually got way more flexibility in terms of where you can position it. I love this thing, and I just use a pretty inexpensive Behringer mic for all my audio. So this is my view when I'm sat down recording videos. Oh, I position my camera there on the tripod, and my microphone is just under here, hence why sometimes I knock it. And yeah, this one records 360, so hence why I have the foam there to kind of stop that 360 reverb sound that you get from this thing. Obviously, you know, knowing me, I'm really cheap, and it's a bit of a hodgepodge job. It's literally a cable, a headphone extender wrapped around there that I don't use. So yeah, oh gosh, I love a bit of DIY. But yeah, really recommend one of these stands. This one was actually pretty cheap, and it's not the best quality, to be fair. And it's a bit on the piss, but no, that kind of thing is ideal, and I can stand up to sing into it. I can sit down and use it. It's primarily for like podcasts and things like that. But yeah, just a really handy thing to have. Intro part 2. I hope you really enjoyed having a look around my studio. Again, apologies that there isn't going to be any content this week or maybe next week. We will see. Stick with it. I'll try and do some little bits in the meantime just to keep things ticking over. When it comes to studio setups and lots of gear, I think it's important to remember that you don't need really expensive or lots of studio gear. For me, I actually find by having a bit of a minimalist setup, I find myself being more creative in the ways that I get sounds, and the way it's almost like a less is more type thing, where I'm more inspired with the less stuff I have to play with. It kind of forces you to step out of your comfort zone, forces you to adapt and write things or play things in a different way maybe. And so I found, even with the HX Stomp actually, that having so much there at your fingertips, you kind of get a bit overwhelmed and you start going into the details too much and getting into the EQ too much, you know. And I think it's a rabbit hole you can really get lost in. I think there's definitely less is more is definitely something that I think I live by a lot these days, and certainly with gear I'm kind of finding that as well, that you can have too much tone and you can have too much colouring the sound and you can have too much expensive stuff to worry about. Like, this setup is really minimalist. It does what I need it to do. I don't have desires to upgrade it really. Bits and bobs. Eventually I probably will, but it's not something, I feel like it's not, what am I saying? I don't really know what I'm saying. I think some people just need to change their frame of mind. If you think, oh, you always need the next bit of gear, you always need the newest thing or the most expensive thing, and that's why I don't sound good. I don't think that's true at all. I think you can just got to find your mojo, your sweet spots of equipment that you really vibe with and that you really connect with. I know that sounds really weird, but just something that inspires you creatively, because having so much stuff, like I said, you can get a bit lost in it. So I really enjoy this kind of minimalist setup, and I can't see myself getting loads more studio setup anyway. Anyway, I'm banging on, and this video is way longer than I thought it was going to be. So thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. If you're watching on Instagram, make sure you hit that follow button as well. It will really help me out. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you soon.